There's this claim going around that creatine can basically undo an entire bad night's sleep. And it's not just some random internet thing. It's Dr. Rhonda Patrick, a real biochemist, on one of the biggest podcasts out there. And it's since got repeated on 3 more. This right here is 5 grams, the normal dose most people already take. And this is 25 grams, what the actual study everyone's quoting used. The first time I heard that, I didn't believe it either. So here's the actual question. Is this even real? Here's the first thing that doesn't add up. The study behind this whole claim didn't test one bad night. It kept people awake for 21 hours straight. Not a rough night's sleep, awake. Even the comments under her clip are half people just cracking jokes about it. And that's just the first thing that doesn't add up. The study behind Dr. Patrick's claim, the real one, not the podcast version, used just 15 people, each given about 0.35 grams per kilogram of body weight. For someone around 185 pounds, that's somewhere between 25 and 30 grams. And they weren't just tired. They were awake the entire 21 hours. No naps, no coffee breaks, nothing. What they measured wasn't your workout and it wasn't your muscles. It was memory, attention, how fast their brain could process information after being up that long. Dr. Darren Kando, the researcher who ran this, described it as improving memory, attention, and processing speed and raising the amount of creatine in the brain. That's it. That's what he actually says. But on the podcast, that same data got turned into this completely negates sleep deprivation, that people function better than if they slept fine in the first place. Same study, 2 completely different levels of confidence. If you pulled a genuine all-nighter, the study is talking about you. If you just slept badly for a few hours, the study isn't. And that's worth knowing, because if you buy the bigger version of this claim, it's easy to assume a scoop of creatine already has your bad sleep covered and stop paying attention to the actual problem. At this severity, creatine doesn't have you covered. And we haven't even gotten to the dose yet. 25 to 30 grams isn't a random number. There's a real reason the dose has to get that high, and it's not what most people assume. At that dose, processing speed came in about 24% faster, and short-term memory and logic scores were up somewhere between 10 and 16%. And that effect peaked around 4 hours after taking it and lasted about 9 hours. Your brain doesn't take up creatine as easily as your muscles do. There's a barrier around it that filters most of it out. Your muscles saturate in about 3 weeks, even at normal 5-gram dose. Your brain is a different story. One study found that even at 4 grams a day, close to a normal dose, it took 3 full months before brain creatine levels actually move. That's why the research uses either a much bigger single hit or a lot more time. Otherwise, that barrier just doesn't let that much through. And the size of the dose matters on a curve, not a switch. A separate study in 2026 tested a lower amount, about 17 grams, using the same 21-hour setup. The effect was real, but smaller, somewhere around a 12% improvement compared to the 24% and 10 to 16% gains from the higher dose. The actual research behind a lot of this, Dr. Kando, doesn't take 25 grams once and call it a day either. His baseline is 10 grams a day, and he only bumps it up towards 20 on days he already knows are demanding. Travel, jet lag, a heavy mental load. If you're already taking more than 5 grams a day, you might already be doing the thing the evidence actually supports. You just didn't know why. If you're on exactly 5 grams, that's covering your muscles just fine. It's probably not doing much for your brain at all. But even if you're taking the right amount for your brain, that still hasn't told us anything about your workout or whether your body's actually recovered. Feeling like you performed fine is not the same thing as your body actually recovering from bad sleep. And every single source we've looked at so far, the podcast clips, even Dr. Kando's own 2-hour interview, is entirely about the first one. None of it touches the second. There's exactly one study that even comes close to touching something physical. 10 elite rugby players sleeping only 3 to 5 hours a night, given a dose somewhere between 4 and 8 grams, right around what most people already take. And it worked for passing accuracy specifically. But that's still performance, the same category as everything we've seen. It doesn't tell us anything about strength, muscle repair, hormones, or whether their bodies had actually caught up the next day. That's the recovery side of the equation. And across everything we've covered, every clip, every study, Kando's own words, none of it measures any of that. That doesn't necessarily mean recovery just doesn't happen. It means nobody's checked whether creatine changes it. A completely different study on rugby players who stayed up all night after a match with no creatine involved at all found real effects the next day. Worse jump performance, along with signs of more muscle damage and inflammation in their blood. Sleep deprivation clearly does something to recovery. We just don't have anything showing creatine touches that side of it. But there's a real reason to expect it wouldn't. Everything creatine actually does comes down to one job. It stores a quick access energy reserve called phosphocreatine that cells burn through fast to regenerate ATP, the actual fuel a cell runs on the moment demand spikes. That's the whole mechanism. A faster recharge, not new energy from somewhere. Muscle repair runs on something completely different. Not how much fuel is available, but a hormonal signal. Growth hormone telling cells to actually build protein and rebuild damaged tissue. And most of your body's daily release of that hormone happens in one big pulse during deep sleep, usually within the first 90 minutes of falling asleep. Skip that pulse and a faster recharge system doesn't help. Fuel was never the part that was missing. The actual instruction to rebuild tissue just never gets sent. If you took the higher dose, woke up feeling sharp, and your plan is just to push today's session like normal, that's the exact assumption nothing here actually supports. So where does this actually leave you? There are basically 4 situations here. If you're already taking 5 grams a day, keep taking it. Just don't assume that dose is doing anything extra for a specific bad night. It's covering your muscles. That's it. Getting the brain side benefit too would mean moving well past 5 grams, not staying there. If you're not on creatine at all and you're just thinking about taking 5 grams just for tonight, there's not enough evidence for that to do much on its own. The closest real match to your situation is actually the rugby study from earlier. A dose right around yours on restricted sleep, not a full night awake, and even that only showed a narrow benefit for one specific skill. If you're considering a high one-time dose, the cognitive research is real, but it's early and it's never once been tested against your workout for recovery. And as for whether it's too late for today specifically, that effect takes about 4 hours to build and lasts around 9 total. So depending on when you take it, you might still catch part of your day, or you might already be past the point where it does much of anything. And if you're already taking somewhere around 10 grams a day, thinking about bumping it up toward 20 on a night you know is going to be bad, that's actually the best supported option of the 4. 3 different people independently landed on exactly this. But across all 4 of these, feeling sharper the next morning still doesn't mean you're actually recovered. You can't predict a bad night, so waiting to react to one was never the smart play. What creatine can do is help you perform through it. What it can't do is give you back what not sleeping actually cost you. And if you think you've been fixing your recovery by sleeping more on the weekends, that extra sleep barely touches deep sleep, which means less of that growth hormone pulse, not more. There's a whole video on the exact cutoff, the specific point where sleeping in stops helping you and starts working against you.